And so is it wrong to withdraw from this physical experience? We're going to ask you questions, and you try to answer them, if you can, from the point of view that you think your inner being would be answering. So we're asking you to answer these questions as you think your inner being would be asking, or as your inner being would be approaching the subjects. When you get sick, have you done something wrong?
No.
Is sickness a punishment for bad living?
No.
Is having dementia a path of least resistance to moving into non-physical?
My inner beings are answering? Yes. It doesn't feel like it sometimes.
So you have a conversation that you want to have with your inner being about that. Your inner being says that dementia is one of the paths of least resistance into non-physical. And so what do you want to say? Argue that point. If you don't believe that, give us your reason for that. You don't have a reason. You've just thought it for a while. But what's at the basis of what you've been thinking for a while?
Just that she's suffering.
But there's something else that we want to help you to understand. Is death a good thing or a bad thing?
Good thing.
Oh, you answered that really quickly. Because you're answering it from the point of view of your inner being, because there is no death.
Right.
Is there any death? No, there's no death. So if death is a good thing, and dementia is a path of least resistance on the way to that broader perspective, then what's the argument that you have with your inner being about any of this? Do you really have any argument?
I guess not, when I think of it like that.
What thoughts do you think you've been practicing that are in your way of letting this be a good thing, not a bad thing?
Just that the process is just so painful to watch, and it's painful for her. And it just seems, as far as like a path of least resistance, this just feels like so much resistance to get to that end point. So when you see a child learning to walk, do you say, I can't look, it is so painful?
No. Most people are up walking around, not that one. That may be one of the clumsiest people I have ever seen.
Right.
Or do you look at the big picture?
Big picture?
So could you take another look? Is it painful to watch somebody on their path of least resistance? Here's what happens. Humans get all tangled up in stuff about whether they should die, whether they shouldn't die, whether they can prevent themselves from dying. They get all wadded up in all of this, and that's why they have experiences that are of great resistance, because the path of least resistance is just to make their transition easily. But humans don't usually make their transitions easily because they're not yet allowing themselves to feel the freedom to die. I'm not done with this life. I haven't been good enough. I'm not worthy enough to die yet. I haven't done what I was supposed to do. In other words, you've got all these bogus things that are in your way, and so you make a struggle out of things that you don't need to make a struggle out of. You know what the cat does when it has enough? It runs into the street. And you say, oh, that was so hard to watch. And the cat says, I'm out of here. You think we're kidding. We're not kidding at all. So we're going to ask you some inner being questions again. Is death a bad thing or a good thing?
Good thing.
So you want to say, okay, I'll go along. It's a good thing. I'm just not ready yet. So let's get into this. Why would anyone not be ready to continue to have ongoing life? What is it that you've done in your way of approaching life that makes you want to hear us when we say you're eternal, and want to hear us when we say that you will remain focused and you will still have a perspective, and that you don't go anywhere, and that there's no ending to who you are? You want to hear all of that, but what thoughts do you practice on a pretty regular basis that make that a struggle for you to know that? You guys got to get over this death thing, because everybody you know is going to die, and you are too, even though there's no death. In other words, you're all going to have the experience. So when you practice not liking it, every time somebody looks like they're going to do it, or every time somebody's done it, you set yourself up for stuff that's going to bite you in the butt later. People diminish as they move through time because people tell those stories about diminishment. That's all. That's all. Do you know there are so many cultures where the older you are, the wiser you are? And you know why that is? Because the more you become connected with non-physical, the less you become attached to the things of the physical nature, the less you care about what other people think. There is so much freedom in moving through time and connecting with source energy, who is ageless and timeless, you see. And so what's happening to you at your very early age in life, you're having an opportunity to pick how you want to feel about these things that are going to happen to everybody, and you get to tell the story the way you want it to be.